So the FM24 winter update has now been released. Maybe you've decided to start a brand new game and you're managing a team on a budget. In today's video, I'm going to show you some players that you can sign for under £5 million that are guaranteed to help your team. The first player on the list of bargain signings for under £5 million is Sekou Koita. He is a 23-year-old Malian international who begins the game with Red Bull Salzburg. If you need a pacey, direct striker who can score lots of goals, this could be the player for you. At the beginning of the game, he has 16 for acceleration, 15 for pace and 14 for finishing. If you start a brand new save game and make an offer instantly, you should be able to snap him up for £3 million. And if you choose to make that investment early on in the game, this is the type of player you could end up with in 5 years' time. In this version of the sim that I run, Sekou Koita would go on to play 234 league games and score 107 goals, with 70 of them coming for Antwerp. He would now be valued at £9.8 to £29 million. Next up we have Gianluca Busio. He's a 21-year-old American who has been capped 13 times by the USA and plays his club football for Venezia in Italy. He is a player who can play 3 different central midfield roles, either as a defensive midfielder, a central midfielder or an attacking midfielder. If you need a solid option in the middle of the park, he could be the player for you. At the start of a brand new save, you'll be able to buy him for around £1.7 million, but Venezia will want a percentage of profit from the next sale. And if you think that is money worth spending, this is the kind of return you will get on your investment. I've jumped 5 years forward in a sim and we can see that Gianluca Busio now plays for Nantes. He has previously been at Antwerp, West Ham, before arriving at Nantes in the 27-28 season. He would go on to play 245 top flight games, scoring 14 goals. The next player on this list is Jasper Torkildsen. He is a 19-year-old goalkeeper who plays his club football in Norway for Start. If you're in need of a tall, rangy goalkeeper who you can develop into a first teamer for the future, this could be a player worth keeping your eye on. At the start of a brand new save game, you should be able to make an offer of around £2 million and that will get the deal done. And if you think that's money well spent on a 19-year-old that you can develop, in around 5 years' time, you could end up with a player that looks like this. In this version of the sim that I did for this video, he had a stop off at Porto and has now found his way to AS Roma. He will have started 134 league games for the 3 clubs he has played for and now has a value of £10.5 to £31 million. The next player we're looking at is Oskar Perea. He's a 17-year-old Colombian who has been capped at under 23 level for his country and plays his club football at Nacional. He is a pacey, direct winger who starts the game with 15 acceleration, 15 pace, 14 for dribbling and 12 for technique. He's a player that you can go in at the start of a brand new save and offer around £3 million for, and you can secure a deal for him. And if you spend that money on the 17-year-old and choose to develop him, in around 5 years' time you can expect to see a player that will look like this. In this sim that I ran for the video, he was initially picked up by Tottenham, but only played 2 league games there before he was allowed to move to Leicester, where he has played 20 times. All in, he has played 62 times and scored 4 goals. He's now valued at £10.5 to £32 million. The next player on the list is Alexander Hammer Kjelsen. He's a 17-year-old Norwegian who plays his club football for Valerenga. He's a centre-back who stands at 6'1". He comes with 14 jumping reach, 11 for heading and 13 for tackling. At the age of just 17, there is plenty of scope for development in the future. At the start of the game, you'll be able to snap him up for around £2.5 million. And if you invest the money, put him into your first team and help him to develop, in around 5 years' time, this is the type of player that you will get. In this sim for the video, he ended up going to Feyenoord before moving on to Anderlecht and has now ended up in the Premier League with Bournemouth. Across his career at this point, he's played 132 times. He's now valued at 17 to £51 million. Next up, we are looking at Adrian Benedyczak. He's a 22-year-old Pole who has represented Poland 11 times at under 21s level. He plays his club football for Parma and he is a tall striker who can also play as a left winger. He starts the game with 13 acceleration, 14 pace, 13 jumping reach, 14 for heading and 14 for finishing. At the start of a brand new save game, you should be able to pick him up for around £2.2 million. And if you think he's worth the investment and put him in your first team and play him, this is the player that you could end up with in 5 years' time. In this sim that I ran for the video, he was bought by Udinese, where he'd go on to play 141 times, scoring 47 goals, before eventually moving on to Lyon, where he'd play 27 times and scored 10 more goals. He's now valued at £12 to £36 million. The next player that we're going to look at is Jose Marsa. He's a 21-year-old Spaniard who plays his club football for FC Andorra. He is a product of La Masia, and at the age of 21 has already played for some big clubs including Barcelona, Sporting CP, Sporting Gijón and now Andorra. He's a solid left back or centre back who can also play in another number of positions. At the start of a brand new save game, you can make an offer for him of £2.9 million, and this will be accepted as it meets his minimum release clause. If you think paying the release clause is a wise move and you pick the player up, in 5 years' time, this is how he could look. In this version of the sim that I ran for the video, he went on to move to Celta Vigo, where he'd play 133 times, chipping in with 4 goals. And in this version of the game, he's valued at £23 to £69 million. The final player on this list might just be the biggest bargain of all. This is Oskar Sivertsen. He's a 19-year-old Norwegian who plays his club football for Kristiansund and has been capped at under-19 level for Norway. He's a tricky, pacey winger who can cut in from either side and can also play through the middle as a striker. He begins the game with 15 acceleration, 13 pace, 13 dribbling, 12 finishing, 11 first touch and 12 for technique. At the start of a brand new save game, you should be able to make an offer of around £135,000, and that will be accepted by Kristiansund. And if you invested the money and put him into your first team to develop, in 5 years' time, this is the player that he can become. He first moved to Antwerp, then went to Bayern Munich, and is now at Red Bull Leipzig. He played 57 times for Antwerp, scoring 11 goals. He played 19 times for Bayern Munich, scoring 3 goals. He played 54 times, scoring 16 goals for Red Bull Leipzig. At this point of the game, he's valued at £33 to £99 million. So that concludes my list of bargain players that you should go and sign for under £5 million after the winter update in FM24. Let me know in the comments section, do you plan on picking any of these players up? And do you think that any of them are a bargain at the price you can get them for?